arguments and proposals. 2, the committee itself, in its report, has recommended a myriad of amendments to the bill.
3, we want to have sufficient time for amendments that may be identical or overlapping
to be harmonized. And we can't do that if we are constrained with time. 4, if you are speaking for yourself, you are the sort of member of parliament who I know would draft an amendment before the bill is even moved. So I don't know why you want extra time. My direction that all amendments be filed by 1 o'clock stands. I don't think it's injurious to any member. I don't think it oppresses any member. And since the time I started making the pronouncement, no member has raised any reservation, Dr. Nyikal. And I believe your reservation is not only unhelpful, but will just draw us back to management of House business that will not be helpful. Yes, yes, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wanted to add to your 4 points.
Yes.
5, since you got up to 4, is that this is a money bill. And being a money bill, in line with Article 114 and on standing orders, all the amendments that members will be proposing must be shared with the National Treasury for concurrence. And therefore, if we allow more time, then there will be no time for the back and forth between the National Assembly and Treasury. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
You should actually appreciate the Speaker, because ordinarily, the office that receives amendments will just tell you it has been closed. At least I've given you sufficient notice on the direction of time. Thank you. Yes, Okello? Let's not eat into debating time. Yes. Give Okello the mic.
Honorable Speaker, I've got a question related to that, whereas I also support the issue of IBC that needs to be fast-tracked based on the fact that at least not less than 2 constituencies are now disenfranchised as a result of either
Jared Okello, that is a moot point. Your own leader has said this here 5 times.
Yeah, I've got a question.
I don't know why you should repeat it.
I'm coming to a question, Honorable
Take
Speaker.
your seat. If you want to use up your leader's powers, the Speaker will not assist you on that. Honorable members, I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 33C, this House resolves to hold a morning sitting on Tuesday, 25th June 2024, commencing at 9:30 a.m. for purposes of considering priority business. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the Finance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2024, resumption of debate.
Yes, Honorable Wandai. Give him the mic. Give him the mic. Why? His mic is... I'm told your mic is malfunctioning. Put where Kenan is.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, sorry. Honorable Speaker, I've got an issue I need to raise now before we can proceed with the debate. that was going on yesterday. Honorable Speaker, my attention has been drawn to a letter purportedly emanating from the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury. A letter dated 19th June, that was yesterday, and addressed to the Clerk of the National Assembly. It's also copied to the Right Honorable Speaker. And it's a letter concerning request for the advisory on conclusion of supply and ways and means process by the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, going through this letter in a nutshell, really, in summary, the National Treasury CS is purporting to direct this House that, and I want just to read some paragraph here, that we further note that following the ongoing debate on the Finance Bill 2024, should the Finance Bill 2024 be approved as proposed by the National Treasury, the National Assembly can proceed with the consideration of the appropriations bill as published. However, if the revenue-raising measures contained in the Finance Bill are not approved by the National Assembly, there will be a likely revenue shortfall of approximately Kenya shillings 200 billion. In order to remain within the provisions of the law, I'm just paraphrasing, we propose the following measures, and so on and so forth. Honorable Speaker, and indeed dangerous grounds. First, by purporting to direct the House on what it's supposed to do in its legislative role. Two, is also anticipating debate. Because as far as I'm aware, we are still at the stage of debating this bill. It is not up the duty of anybody out there to start anticipating how the bill will go. But more importantly, Honorable Speaker, Article 221 of the Constitution, if you can listen to, just pay me attention.
Article 221 of the Constitution.
At Article 6, it says that when the estimates of national government expenditure and the estimates of expenditure for the judiciary and parliament have been approved by the National Assembly, they shall be included in an appropriation bill which shall be introduced into the National Assembly to authorize withdrawal from the Consolidated Fund, and so on and so forth. That is the Constitution. But if you go further to the Public Finance Management Act, Section 40, subsection 5, it says, and I want just to read quickly, that any of the recommendations made by the relevant committee of the National Assembly or adopted by the National Assembly on revenue matters shall, among other things, ensure that the total amount of revenue raised is consistent with the approved fiscal framework and the Division of Revenue Act. What am I saying? If you read the Constitution at Article 221(5), together with the Public Finance Management Act, Section 40, Honorable Speaker, subsection 5, you arrive at the conclusion that the appropriations bill can only be informed by the estimates, not by the finance bill, Honorable Speaker. That the appropriations bill can only flow or emanate from the estimates that we have actually approved last week or so in this House. So what, therefore, is the CS purporting to say here? He's saying that if we don't approve the finance bill as in the form it originated from, I think, National Treasury, we shall have, therefore, to review or change the appropriations bill to conform with the finance bill as passed. Honorable Speaker, my submission is that it is the bill, first and foremost, we need to know from the chair of the Committee on Finance. Because the work of the Committee on Finance is to look for ways to raise money to finance the budget that has been passed. Are they saying that they were unable to look for money to finance the budget that we passed last week? If so, the logical thing, Honorable Speaker, is to do a supplementary budget. That is the only logical thing, not to do what the CS is purporting to direct us to do here. So what I want to ask you, Honorable Speaker, first and foremost, is to call the CS to order. To order from your chair. He cannot be seen to be supervising this House. In other words, actually, he's trying to put pressure on this House to act in a particular manner. Yes. The CS of National Treasury, who is not elected by anybody, as far as I'm concerned, is purporting to supervise this House in its legislative role. Something that flies in the face of the Constitution and the relevant law, Honorable Speaker. So I would want, at the very least, that you direct that this letter be withdrawn by the National Treasury. And secondly, to compel him to commit, not to attempt, now or in the future, to try to dictate to this House in the manner it's supposed to conduct its business. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and let me thank the Leader of Majority for raising this particular issue about this letter. But, Honorable Speaker, the Minority Leader, sorry. Honorable Speaker, you know, they say any name can raise a baby. And today you are the majority, tomorrow you can be the minority. There's absolutely nothing wrong with me, the slip of the tongue, referring to the Honorable Pio Wandai as a leader of majority. At times I've had people, the slip of the tongue, refer to Junet as a majority whip. At times I am referred to as a minority leader, majority whip. Any name is a name, provided we do what we are here to do. And Honorable Pio will tell you, in the last parliament, when we were with him here, the majority side, that was Jubilee, became the minority and had to depend on the minority side in its own government to pretend to be the majority. The leader of majority then, the Honorable Kimunya, the last 2 years, was the leader of the majority, but was actually a leader of the minority from the majority side. Because the Honorable Aden Duale, who was a ranking member like the Honorable John Buddy, was the leader of the majority on the majority side. But moving on, Honorable Speaker, I was thanking the Honorable Pio for raising this issue because it's important that we all get to an understanding not just of the import of this letter, but the import of all the proposed amendments that we will do to the finance bill, Honorable Speaker. And it's good that when you are responding to the Honorable Nyikal, you did point out some of those issues. And principally, Honorable Speaker, the last point that I added, that this being a money bill, we must get the concurrence of the National Treasury. And there is reason as to why the drafters of our Constitution, Article 114, put that particular provision of concurrence with the National Treasury. Honorable Speaker, if you read that letter, it points to provisions of the law as it is. Professor Ndungu, who assigned this letter, is not referring to anything that is outside of the law and the provisions of our Constitution. He refers to Section 39(4)(c) of the PFM Act, which requires that any increase in expenditure in a proposed appropriation is balanced by a reduction in expenditure in another proposed appropriation. Honorable Speaker, he goes on to quote Section 45 of the PFM Act and other sections of the PFM Act that indicate that if we are to reduce the proposed revenue estimates, Honorable Speaker, then concurrently, and I said it on Tuesday, something must give in. If we reduce taxes that are proposed to be the revenue-raising measures to finance the budget that we have adopted, then we must find a way of either reducing expenditure, the expenditure side, because if you don't do so, what you will do is increase the fiscal deficit. It is this House, Honorable Speaker, and I was hoping the Honorable Njuguna Ndung'u had pointed to it, and I see he hadn't, that we passed a debt ceiling in this House. We cannot go beyond that which we have passed in this House. The National Treasury cannot borrow beyond a certain point, a ceiling that we have set by law in this House. And therefore, if we're asking that let us reduce the revenues, but don't touch the expenditure side, what we are doing is simply telling the National Treasury, increase the fiscal deficit against the law. And we cannot act against the law. I know we are the lawmakers, but we are not allowed by the Constitution to act ultra vires the Constitution. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, what the Cabinet Secretary, it could be a preemptive. It could be preemptive that I want to agree with the Honorable Pio. It is preempting debate, but the Honorable Njuguna Ndung'u, CS Njuguna Ndung'u, is not engaging in debate. This is an advisory opinion to us, reminding us that we need to abide by the Constitution and by our own laws. Honorable Speaker, the leader of minority spoke to the need, and he has asserted that the right thing, and he said it so emphatically you would want to believe him, that the right thing to do is to do a supplementary budget. That is the wrong thing to do. It is the wrong thing to do, Honorable Speaker, because you cannot begin from a mistake and say now we will break the law at this particular stage, then we will fix it with a supplementary budget. Supplementary budget should only come in once we have in the first instance, bound by what is provided for in the law. We have not burst our fiscal deficit as stipulated under our PFM Act. And if in the course of implementation of this budget, there are additional expenditures that then would lead to a bursting of that fiscal deficit, then we call for a supplementary budget. But we cannot say that at this point what we should be doing is a supplementary budget. What shall we be supplementing if we are even yet to pass the appropriations bill? We need to pass the appropriations bill and the finance bill so that we complete the budget-making cycle. Once you complete the budget-making cycle, then after that you can do a supplementary budget. But we cannot complete a budget-making cycle against the law. And that is what Honorable Pio and I is telling us that we should do. It is my humble submission, Honorable Speaker, then, that this letter is in good standing, and this is the way it is. I saw a number of votes, Honorable Speaker, and I said on Tuesday, Honorable Speaker, when this report was tabled, that someone once quipped that choices have consequences. And in lawmaking, the same is true. If we choose to cut on our revenue-raising measures, as the Finance Committee has proposed, there will definitely be consequences. Honorable Speaker, I am fortunate to have been in this House in the last Parliament. The Honorable Andai, who has raised this issue, and the Honorable Junet were in this House in 2018. In 2018, Honorable Speaker, you remember the contentious Uhuru second term, the second finance bill. It was equally contentious. And you remember the debate that was there then about fuel, from 16%, 8%, from 0% VAT. And when we did the revenue-raising measures bill in the form of a finance bill, consequently, we had to adjust the expenditure side. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is not the first time it is happening, and it is not the last time. Therefore, if our JSS teachers, who we appropriated resources to hire, if there isn't adequate resources to hire JSS teachers, then something has to give in. If there is a road in Ugunja constituency that was to be tarmacked, and the resources are not enough, I mean, or in Kikuyu constituency for that matter, then we just have to do away with them, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, I just want to ask the Honorable Pio to hold his horses. In actual fact, what we are doing now is anticipating debate, Honorable Speaker. We are the ones now who are anticipating debate because we are yet to complete the finance bill, because at the conclusion of the finance bill, it is only at that point we'll be able to tell the net effect of all the changes that have been made and decide whether then we need whatever quantum we need to adjust on the expenditure side. Honorable Speaker, let me just conclude by saying we cannot and we shall not have our cake and eat it at the same time. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, this issue is very straightforward, but for purposes of record, I'll give you a direction at 2:30. Meanwhile, we proceed with debate. It has absolutely no impact on the debate going on. I will give you a direction at 2:30. Order, Honorable Wandai, you have so ably prosecuted your case, and the majority leader has responded. Budget chairman, I will in fact pass on these letters to you. So I'm not opening debate on this. Call out the next order. Order, honorable members, order. When I came to the chamber, I had seen this letter. And I had also my own feelings about it. I'll give you direction at 2:30. I don't have to consume parliamentary time debating something that is very clear in my mind. My thoughts are very rich, Junet. Have you called us? Order, honorable members, order. Back to the finance bill. We have 120 requests. With 120 requests, at 5 minutes, we need about 9 to 10 hours. Can I ask the majority and minority leader to approach the chair? The majority and minority leader approach the chair. Order, honorable members. Order. Wangela, take your seat. Order. Badi, take your seat. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, I want us to proceed as follows. We have Honorable Zambia, who has 3.5 minutes to go. I've told you how many of you have keyed in. At 7 a.m. this morning, 50 members had already keyed in. But that shows the intensity of interest in the bill. We will start the debate now up to 1. In the afternoon, I'll give you 1 hour from 2:30 to 3:30. We will not need Honorable Pukose to call for the mover to reply. The mover will be called by the speaker to reply at 3:30, whereafter we shall go to vote. I've consulted with your leadership on whether we should go on with 5 minutes and cut off at the hours we have agreed, or allow more members to contribute by truncating the time to 3 minutes. If you agree to 3 minutes, we can truncate the time to 3 minutes so that more members can speak. Is that all right with the House? I put the question that the time for contribution be reduced from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Secondly, honorable members, I encourage you to desist from raising frivolous points of order, because some members have been raising points of order that are completely far from points of order. Yes. So, in Zambia, you finish your 3.5 minutes. The next members I call, you'll be taking 3 minutes. Members, you also keyed in very early, but sometimes the chair may not necessarily follow the list because you find like you have 10 members in a row from one side. We have to balance the House. So we will be jumping and zigzagging in the list to make sure there's some balanced representation on the floor. Zambia, go on.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, we have a responsibility as a House to protect the interests of our Kenyan citizens. Honorable Speaker, I totally oppose this finance bill. Reasons being that, Honorable Speaker, we understand that the motor vehicle tax, edible oil tax, among others, have been deleted. But Honorable Speaker, there are so many hidden taxes. Honorable Speaker, when you talk of 7 shillings per litre in fuel levy, it means that the cost of production in the local industries will go up. Honorable Speaker, even the cost of producing bread will be higher than even the normal rate as at now. Honorable Speaker, our Kenyan citizens are struggling to put food on the table. Honorable Speaker, the cost of living is going to increase even further if we consider passing this bill. Honorable Speaker, I urge members of this House to consider the cry outside there of Akina Wanjiku and the others. Honorable Speaker, the life of the Kenyan citizen of running businesses is totally unbearable as we speak now. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to the local industries, they are closing down their businesses. Reason being that the cost of production is going high and high every time. And Honorable Speaker, we have come to understand that most of the industries are closing down, making it not possible to keep on employing more of the Kenyan citizens. I urge this government to reconsider getting a better finance bill to move the Kenyan citizens forward. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Mandera West. Member for Mandera West. Order, honorable members. Order. The conversations are too loud. Order. Cynthia Muge, take your seat. You've been standing there for 10 minutes. Honorable members, those who want to engage in conversations, there's a lobby out there. You can go and converse and come back. Give me time to hear what members are saying, and give those who want to listen to debate. Member for Mandera West. Give him a functioning mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance to contribute to this very important bill that is in front of us. Mr. Speaker, sir, finance bill is an annual event. It has been done from the time Kenya was born up to this time. I personally, I think this is the seventh one I am contributing or participating in. And therefore, we all know that without finance bill, there will be no government activity. If you don't pass finance bill and allow the government to continue with its activity, there will be no government activities. And we all know that the government is there for the interest of the community, the larger community. I take this opportunity to sincerely thank the Finance Committee for listening, for doing a very thorough public participation all over the country, and for listening to the various issues that has been raised by the public, and for particularly saying that the contentious issues such as the bread, the VAT on bread, motor vehicle, the eco levy on sanitary pads and diapers, the excise duties on vegetable oil and others, which were contentious, they have already recommended that it be dropped. And therefore, it is for this House to concur with the recommendation of the Finance Committee to drop those very contentious issues. I have been called by my constituents so much, but as I explained to them what has been dropped, and particularly the finance bill is looking at putting 1 billion shilling for restocking. As you all know that the area where I represent and others had a serious drought for 4 years, and we lost almost all our livestock, and we don't have any other livelihood except rearing of livestock. And this finance bill is giving us 1 billion to restock. That is a very big gain, and my constituents have told me that make sure that 1 billion is protected. Honorable Speaker, sir, there are very important gains in this finance bill, particularly.
Your time up. Irene Mayaka. You have 3 minutes, so compose your thoughts and compress them quickly.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I take this opportunity to emphatically reject the finance bill. And Honorable Speaker, one of the things that I just want to say and make very clear is that we should not subject ourselves to the pressures that are being implemented by the IMF on funding conditions that they are giving to this country. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Gen Z and the people of Kenya because they exercise their rights under Article 1 and 2 of the Constitution, together with Article 37 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, in my quest to reject the finance bill, one of the things that I just want to say very clearly, I keep hearing members telling us that we need to start using locally manufactured sanitary towels, and especially to our male members. I just want to tell you, stop taking Panadols for our headache. Locally manufactured sanitary pads are not of good quality. You cannot expect young girls out there to use pads that will make them have infections and such like things. Honorable Speaker, some of the clauses that I really want us to look into and come and also reject is, for example, clause number 63 that talks about KRA having access to our information. Clause number 23 that talks about amateur sporting association being added additional tax. Honorable Speaker, some of the repercussions that we will have as a country if we continue with this finance bill is that we are making our investment climate to become a very unpredictable one. We will make our country not be and have appetite for investments from foreign investors and local investors.
That is the case in the villages. Honorable Speaker, you may say we are going to impose taxes only on imported table eggs. But how will you distinguish between those eggs you're using to hatch and the eggs to be eaten on the table? Do we have the machinery to confirm it? Honorable Speaker, there is no empirical data. And this is where I think the Finance Committee failed this House. Do we have data in terms of the amount of eggs which are imported against the amounts produced locally that are in our market? Once we increase the price for imported eggs, going by the amounts, my fear, Honorable Speaker, is that when you go to the shop, you will not distinguish. Honorable Speaker, the last...
Time up, Ferdinand Wanyonyi. It is 3 minutes. Don't talk as if it is 10 minutes, it's 3 minutes.
I want to take this opportunity, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, to remind this House that the budget is actually an annual circulation, and therefore I'll ask members, and I think the opportunity is there, not only that, but not to whip our emotion on this. Let's not whip our emotion on this, be able to come up with whatever suggestions you have, to be able to correct and implement some of these issues that can be able to make this country to be self-sustainable. As you know, you are told Kenya is now the 27th fastest growing economy in the whole country. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity to thank the committee led by my brother Kimani, that we should be able to move faster and be able to come in with suggestions to be able to move, because one of which, as you say, you want to dismiss this particular proposal. We have CDF, and have given us like 50 million shillings. We have the CALF for the ladies, that again, 30 million shillings, and of course, electricity, to be able to have our country with a nice approach to economy by having electricity all over the country. Therefore, I think this bill is good enough. We should not actually dismiss it for the sake of it. We should be able to come in with positive approach to be able to move forward. As it is today, I do just want to dismiss because somebody called me and asked him, what do you want me to remove? He didn't even know. So let's not go by emotion. Let's go by whatever we have and be able to move forward our economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Manduku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For avoidance of doubt, I stand to oppose the Finance Bill 2024 and urge my colleagues to vote no. Mr. Speaker, the bill as presented before the House goes against our own tax policy, which we approved in this House. But curiously, Mr. Speaker, in an effort to expand the tax base, there's a provision that has been sneaked in that will compel families to pay capital gains tax on land that they transfer to their children. If you look at the proposal to amend the Stamp Duty Act Cap 480, I find it difficult that if I give my son land or if I ask my family to donate land to my children, I'll be compelled to pay some taxes. Further than that, Mr. Speaker, and having worked at the Port of Mombasa, I can tell you that this country is a net importer. And therefore, increasing the IDF fees by 0.5% will have a net effect of having expensive goods manufactured locally. Mr. Speaker, there's a provision also in this bill that seeks to expand or to extend the number of days that the Kenya Revenue Authority can get back to taxpayers on decision making from the 60 days to 90 days. I find it curious that we want to give the taxman a lot of time to get back to us on very simple decisions which would otherwise streamline taxation. Mr. Speaker, my advice to the government is that they should get down to work. Avoid listening to tweeting economists and avoid too many prayers. Get back to work and grow the economy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kajiado Central.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the Finance Bill 2024 for the following reason, Honorable Speaker. One, the Finance Act 2023 had reduced the import declaration fee from 3.5 to 2.5%. This, Honorable Speaker, not only gave us a whole of 10 billion shillings, but it also encouraged importation. And Honorable Speaker, we all know the net effect of this. The proposed finance bill, Honorable Speaker, is proposing to take back the importation declaration fee to 3.5 and therefore discouraging importation and therefore growing our industries. Honorable Speaker, I'd like to commend the Gen Zs who have been out there, but also advise them to seek information, because one of the reasons why these young people are out in the streets is mainly because of unemployment. This importation declaration fee that has been increased seeks to grow our manufacturing sector and therefore seeks to employ the same young people. Second, Honorable Speaker, is the eco levy in clause 45 of the bill. Honorable Speaker, we all know the effects of climate change, the negative effects of climate change. This levy, Honorable Speaker, seeks to protect our environment from environmental wastes, which is one of the contributors to climate change. Honorable Speaker, we could go on and on climate change and the effects and the negative effects that this has brought to the economy of this country. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, as a pastoralist, and I also urge the pastoralist members who are here to be keen. In the past budget, we have 1 billion shillings that is meant to be restocking money for our people. Our people had suffered losses due to drought. The 1 billion is going to be a game changer to our people. There is also money for value addition. And this, Honorable Speaker, I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Karole Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak to this bill. Let me begin by acknowledging that the bill is 132 pages and 65 clauses. So to say that you are rejecting it in totality is just playing to the gallery. I think there are good things and bad things about in the bill. Mr. Speaker, I would like to talk to three things only because of the limitation of time. The first one is a clause that is being introduced in this bill on tax abandonment. I've not had a lot of public discussion on it. But for the first time, we are being asked to make provision in law for the Commissioner of Tax, together with the CS Treasury, to give tax waivers where, in their view, the tax cannot be collected. I think this is a very, very fundamental activity that requires the input of this House. I think tax that is due is already public property, and any activity to waive it or to claim that it can be abandoned must have the input of this House. So I will be recommending, or rather I've already recommended certain amendments that will come to the floor of the House to recast this particular clause to see that any attempts to abandon tax are subject to approval of this House, as well as the requirements of Articles 201 and 210 of the Constitution of Kenya. Secondly, there is another provision in this particular bill talking about investment allowance for spectrum use. I believe this matter should be looked into detail because it also has retroactive effects on the tax that will be collected from the telecom companies. I believe there's a lot of work as Parliament we need to do on this matter to see that we do not.
If possible, you could add me a few minutes so that I bring forth a message. If possible, you could add me a few minutes so that I bring forth a message I have for the House.
Okay, I'll give you an extra 2 minutes, so you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as the rule provides in the PFM Act, Article 39A, that we have to balance our expenditure and our revenues. Honorable Speaker, I want to talk as the chairman of budget, and I actually want to talk as an indifferent party, that whatever may happen on the bill, the Budget and Appropriations Committee is prepared, Honorable Speaker. But from the onset, we want to laud Kenyans for their voices. This country belongs to Kenyans, and when they express themselves, they are doing precisely what the Constitution provides. I also want to laud all the Kenyan leaders, including our side of government and the other side, Honorable Speaker, because we are all geared to the welfare of the Kenyan people. Honorable Speaker, I have since, and I want members to, if possible, they can have this in their mind as we debate. I have since received a letter and communication from the National Treasury addressed to the clerk of the National Assembly, but I am copied as the chairperson of budget. Honorable Speaker, the Treasury is looking in all scenarios. Scenario number one, if the bill passes only with the amendments from the Finance Committee. Scenario number two is actually if the bill, the MPs in their wisdom decide that we shelve it. Honorable Speaker, if the status quo remains, that we pass the bill as proposed by the Honorable Kimani Kuria and the committee, the appropriations bill passes as it is, Honorable Speaker, as we did last week. However, Honorable Speaker, it is important for members to note that in case there is a downfall in terms of the revenues by the proposed 200 billion that was to be raised in the finance bill, Honorable Speaker, then the government and the National Treasury and the Budget Committee is also prepared for that scenario. And I have communication, Honorable Speaker, from the National Treasury from the proposals. And I wish that I read some of them, that if the bill does not pass, Honorable Speaker, we'll be reducing the budget for the State House for 51 million, budget at the State Office of the President for 51 million, security organs, defense, for example, will be losing 7.75 billion, ongoing TVETs in our constituencies will have to shelve that ambition by reducing by 800 million, Honorable Speaker. Higher Education Loans Board will be losing 3.2 billion. Honorable Speaker, the JSS teachers, 46,000 of them, Honorable Speaker, by letting this bill pass, will actually be giving jobs at the permanent and pensionable. Honorable Speaker, if the wisdom of this House is to shelve that decision, then it means the JSS teachers, whom, Honorable Speaker, I would persuade this House that we confirm there will be no funding. NGCDF will be reducing by 15 billion shillings, which is 50 million per constituency, Honorable Speaker. The monies we appropriated for electricity, 50 million per constituency, Honorable Speaker, by, again, not giving the National Treasury the power for more revenue-raising measures, the 50 million per constituency will be disappearing today, Honorable Speaker. Coffee Cheriford will be cut 1 billion, Honorable Speaker, if there is no funding, Honorable Speaker, through the finance bill. Our last plea is this. This letter is public information. It can be shared to the members of parliament. Honorable Speaker, my plea is this, as the chairman of budget, that if it's possible, the House Business Committee can actually bring the appropriations bill this afternoon. That the decision that we take in the finance bill, we can also cascade the same by appropriating the proposed cuts in the appropriation bill so that we can finish the entire business today, Honorable Speaker. However, Honorable Speaker, I am sure with the same energy that we are speaking either for or against, we will also explain to Kenyans, the JSS teachers, I am sure those who will be voting against their confirmation to PNP, we will also explain to them, Honorable Speaker. Those voting against increment in CDF will also be, Honorable Speaker, explaining to Kenyans about it. Those who will be voting against the increment, Honorable Speaker, of employing 20,000 more teachers will have an ample time to explain to the teachers of this country, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, the proposed cut in terms of roads is 15 billion. Those who will be voting against the increment of 15 billion to roads, I am sure they'll eloquently explain to Kenyans about it also, Honorable Speaker.
A minute to finish. Order.
Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members, order. Order. Give him 3 minutes and wind up.
Honorable Speaker, I want to be very objective. Honorable Speaker, these are the proposed cuts in case there is no revenue-raising measures as proposed by Honorable Kimani Kuria. Honorable Speaker, number one, as I said, I want to be very clear. State House has been cut money 500 million. Office of the President, another 500 million. Security like defense is 7.75 billion cuts. Honorable Speaker, the same, our JSS teachers, that the 46,000 of them will be employed on permanent and pensionable. Honorable Speaker, if we don't give the National Treasury the power for revenue-raising measures, it means the people will be voting against the confirmation of the 46,000 interns. Will have ample time to explain to them how they voted against them getting permanent jobs, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the reduction in NGCDF is 15 billion shillings. That is a small figure, Honorable Speaker, because I can see members are saying 50 million is not much. In Kiharo, it's a lot of money, Honorable Speaker, that every constituency will be cut 50 million shillings starting July, Honorable Speaker. GAF, we just added them 500 million. Honorable Speaker, the proposal is to reverse the 500 million and also to reduce further by an extra 1 billion, Honorable Speaker. The monies we appropriated for electricity, 50 million per constituency, Honorable Speaker. I hope those who will be voting against electrification in our villages will have time to explain to Kenyans why they are voting against electricity in our rural areas, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there is a proposed reduction.
Order. Honorable Commissioner Mishi, I know you differently. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members on both sides of the House. Order. Order. Honorable members on both sides of the House. In the tradition of Parliament, if you approve of something, you thumb your feet. You don't wail and shout as if you are in a rally. This is not a rally. This is a House of Parliament. Dindi, can you wind up?
Honorable Speaker, the other thing is that there is a proposed reduction of 1 billion shillings in livestock restocking. From our side, we believe those who lost their livestock deserve to be compensated. Those who will vote against 1 billion that is going to livestock restocking will explain to our pastoralist, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, also, the monies proposed for reduction for school feeding program is 1.8 billion. On our side, we believe the 1.8 billion is needed to feed the children of this country as they go to our schools, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the political parties, we can all agree in unison. We are proposing a cut of 900 million. I know that is not contentious. We can agree to cut it this afternoon, Honorable Speaker, because we are also prepared for it. Honorable Speaker, there is a proposed cut of 5.5 billion shillings for cash transfer. Our parents who registered last year deserve to get their cash transfer.
Order, time up. Bed Simba. Order.
Asante sana
Rosa Buyu,
Mheshimiwa.
you have already spoken on this bill. You have no business doing what you are doing.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa fursa na mimi niweze kuzungumzia kuhusu mswada huu wa fedha. Mimi nimesimama kuupinga na kitu nitasema hapa, viongozi muheshimu malalamishi ama matakwa ya wananchi. Muisikize vilio vya wananchi. Kuongeza ushuru wa mafuta kutapandisha kila bidhaa ambayo inahusiana na mafuta. Kwa hivyo hii ni shughuli ambayo haifai kwa sababu gharama za maisha zitakuwa juu. Kuweka ushuru kwa bidhaa zinazotoka ng'ambo zitamrudia tena mwananchi, kwa sababu bidhaa zinazotengenezwa hapa nchini bado haziwezi kukimu mahitaji yetu, mpaka tutachukua tena kutoka kule zile za ng'ambo, ambazo zitaleta shida zaidi. Kwanza tutengeneze viwanja vyetu kabla tujaweka ushuru huo. Na kuhusu kwamba fedha zitatoka wapi, wapunguze matumizi katika ofisi za serikali. Wanaweka pesa nyingi kuhudumia wageni wakija. Kama mgeni amekuja, mpe maji ya kunywa, na kama ni lazima akae paka mchana, mpe kidheri, mwambie hiyo ndio chakula chetu cha kitamaduni, sio kukula makuku na madino kwa gharama za wananchi. Mnaleta paka tu katika sehemu zenu. Kupandisha bei ya mikate, mwananchi wa kawaida ni bidhaa ambayo inatumika kwa kila boma. Kila boma asubuhi na jioni natumia mikate. Wewe unaenda kuongeza ushuru wa mkate, na mkifanya hivyo tutakunywa chai na mgoka kama ndio mnataka hivyo. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba serikali ipunguze ile matumizi ambao wao wanafanya, wapunguze safari wanazokwenda nje, waende mahali ikiwa ni muhimu na ni watu wawili pekee yake, hapana kwenda watu 30 alafu mnasema wananchi waongeze ushuru, na huku mmechukua ndege nzima mnaenda nayo huko nje. Mnakwenda mahoteli, mnazungumza ambao mikutano mnaweza fanya katika boardroom zenu. Hiyo ndio sio ni matatizo. Kwa hivyo mimi nasema kwamba ushuru ama hii mswada wa fedha uangushwe huu, kwa sababu wananchi wameusoma. Msione wale watoto wale vijana wameandamana, walisoma kwa sababu huu mswada uko katika mitandao, wanajua kila kipengee kile kilichoko pale. Mnaongeza matairi, mnaongeza vyombo ambavyo vitapima saratani. Mnaongeza bidhaa ambazo za x-ray ambao tayari matibabu ni gharama, na saizi mnaongeza tena. Itakuwa zaidi, watu wanaumia, watoto wanajinyonga huko kwa sababu ya depression ambao ziko nazo. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesimama kupinga mswada huu. Asante sana.
Mwengi Mutuse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my friends. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to make a very brief contribution. And my contribution, first of all, is to debunk some erroneous myths that have been perpetuated in this debate. Mr. Speaker, during this debate, a perception has been created that the contestations around the finance bill have only happened after President William Ruto became president. Nothing can be far from the truth. Mr. Speaker, those of us who are students of history know that taxation began 3,000 years before Christ, actually in the ancient kingdom of Egypt. And even at that time, taxation was contentious. It has also been said before this House during the government of Kenyatta I, during the government of President Moi, during the government of President Kibaki, during the government of Kenyatta II, and even now, the finance bill has been an annual event, and it has never been a smooth sail. But something different has happened this year, Mr. Speaker. During the many times that the finance bill has been presented before Parliament, a lot of the times the voices of the people have never been factored by either the Parliament or by the executive. But for the first time in history, the voices of the people have been heard and have been factored in the report that was presented before this House by the Finance Committee. One of the principles of good governance is responsiveness. Responsiveness to the wishes of the people. And I want to laud the Finance Committee for being responsive to the wishes of the people of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, politics is a very interesting game. On Tuesday, and if we may be heard in silence, Mr. Speaker, on Tuesday, after we finished our parliamentary group, I had a very jovial discussion with some of my friends who are on the other side. I had very jovial discussions with some of my friends who are on the other side, and they were saying, why have you removed everything that we wanted to rely on in the finance bill to do politics? And I asked them, but you complained about these things, and you have been heard and they have been removed. And they told me, you know, the work of opposition is to oppose. And now that you have pulled the carpet under our feet, we must find something new to hang on. I am saying this so that Kenyans know that the opposition to the finance bill is majorly inspired by politics. It may not be inspired by the content. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, as a lawyer, I want to say, and this would have been ably articulated if I may get 1 minute, that the issues that have been complained of have already been overtaken by events. They are actually otious. Finally, what is the effect of rejecting the finance bill? The effect of rejecting the finance bill is to resort back to the finance bill of
Joseph Oyula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this important bill. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by thanking the Finance Committee for the work well done. It took a long time, but they came up with a good report. Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding the amendments that were made, this bill was a disaster. This bill is assuming that the Kenyans' tax rate should move to a higher rate regime, which is not comfortable for this country at all. Mr. Speaker, we should not take ourselves to a higher tax regime, which is going to cause stress to our business community and the individuals. The country needs to move slowly towards a higher tax regime. If the country is moved very fast, Mr. Speaker, then we will not balance our budget. Mr. Speaker, we need to make sure that the revenue is raised, yes, but also the tax rate is comfortable to the community of this country. Mr. Speaker, as we go through this bill, Mr. Speaker, let us note that increasing the tax rates does not guarantee raising that money. It has happened in the bill for 2023. We never made it. The chances are that during this period, we may also not make it. So the Treasury should not come up with such a disastrous proposal in the tax rates. It is for this reason, Mr. Speaker, that we are rejecting this bill, and I would want the Treasury to take it back and come up with a bill that is balanced, a bill that will ensure the country is raising revenue, and a bill that will ensure the people of Kenya are not stressed. This is very important, because if we raise the tax and we don't get that money, it will not help the country at all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Jen Kagiri.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this very important bill. Honorable Speaker, allow me to start by congratulating the Finance Committee for listening to Kenyans and honoring their request on the deletion of the taxes that they felt were punitive on them. Honorable Speaker, I would want to contribute on the clause on the introduction of eco levy on sanitary towels and diapers. Honorable Speaker, I speak as the chairperson of the 47 women representatives. And recently, Honorable Speaker, we had the opportunity of enacting the Education Act of 2016, where we ensured that every student from class 5 to class 8, girls receive their sanitary towels. Honorable Speaker, out of the 47 counties, only 4 local manufacturers were given the opportunity to supply these sanitary towels. Honorable Speaker, this prominent house has been treated to a lot of drama and truthful stories of the situation we find ourselves with sanitary towels. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to state that this levy has been introduced so that we encourage our local production and our local manufacturers, Honorable Speaker. I hear some members say that we will have low supply because we don't have enough manufacturers. Honorable Speaker, I have had conversations with our manufacturers who are able to produce enough sanitary towels for us. Honorable Speaker, a visit to the supermarkets made me learn that sanitary towels that are locally manufactured are cheaper than those that are imported. Honorable Speaker, we cannot allow importers to continue making unscrupulous profits on Kenyans here, yet they pay no excise on their products, and the local manufacturers have to pay VAT on their raw materials. Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this bill, and I stand to support the eco levy be charged on sanitary towels and diapers to ensure that we grow our local manufacturers. A local manufacturer told me he used to have 600 employees. He has reduced them to 100 because of idle capacity. Honorable Speaker, it is our time to stop speaking from both sides of our mouths. If we want to create employment, we cannot be the defenders of importers. Anybody who wants to import can come set up the industry locally, and that way we are going to give them all the business that they need. And if they lack a place to go and establish their industries, I'm gladly welcoming them to Laikipia County, where they can come and set up a manufacturing industry, and we will not charge them any duty as long as they are producing diapers and sanitary towels locally within our country. Honorable Speaker, allow me to conclude by saying, Honorable Speaker, allow me to conclude by saying, I'm speaking as a user of sanitary towels, as well as a mother to a toddler who uses diapers. So, Honorable Speaker, anybody telling us about imported sanitary towels, they range from the price of 75 shillings to around 175 shillings. Locally produced sanitary towels are ranging between 55 shillings and 75 shillings.
Andon Olwach.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. From the very onset, allow me to say that I rise to oppose this bill. Honorable Speaker, the Finance Bill 2024-2025 has redefined our public discourse on things that affect us, especially on the question of how, when, what, and where to tax the people of Kenya. I want to take this opportunity to thank our Generation Z, because they have reminded us of what is stated under Article 2 and how we, as this legislative house, the executive and judiciary, arrive at the positions in which we arrive. Honorable Speaker, this generation in their public discourse on the question of the finance bill has reminded us that the sovereign power actually belongs to them. All this power
against the will of Kenyans. Kenyans want development. We have heard the cries of Kenyans. And Madam Speaker, we have done the right amendment. And
your time is up. Honorable Muliungi, Mwingi Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I am directed by the people of Mwingi Central and the youth in general to reject this bill. Madam Speaker, I therefore rise to oppose. Madam Speaker, this bill is not only punitive, but retrogressive. Madam Speaker, the amendments done by the Finance Committee were meant to hoodwink Kenyans because in the first instance, why didn't you put tax on bread? Why didn't you put tax on diapers? Why did you put tax on cooking oil? These are essentials. Why did you put tax on M-Pesa? Why did you put tax on boda? Madam Speaker, I'm very disturbed by this finance bill, especially because this government is insensitive even to the sick. There is a tax on cancer equipment, which will eventually increase the cost of treatment of cancer. Madam Speaker, the bill in general intends to increase taxation, which eventually will increase the cost of living. And it will make life harder and make Kenyans poorer. Madam Speaker, we recall that the Kenya Kwanza government promised a bottom-up economic model, taking money to the hustlers, to the villages, to the poor. But this bill is now taking money from the poor and bringing it back to Nairobi. Madam Speaker, I care for the people of Mwingi. I care for the jobless. I care for the youth. I care for the hustlers. I therefore reject the bill. I reject high taxation. I reject high cost of living. I reject poverty. I reject oppression. I condemn Treasury for bringing this shoddy bill to Parliament. And therefore I demand its withdrawal. Madam Speaker, I oppose archaic, punitive, outrageous, and careless finance bills in the future. I say no to this finance bill. I say no to oppression. I say no to unfair taxation. I say no to poverty. I reject the finance bill. I reject. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member for Butere, Honorable Tindi.
Asante sana madam. Asante sana Bi Speaker kwa kunipea nafasi. Jambo la kwanza nataka niseme nimesimama kwa kupinga mswada huu wa fedha mwaka wa 2024. Bi Speaker, vile unajua Wakenya wanahangaika, gharama ya maisha iko juu, na serikali ambayo iko kwa mamlaka ilitafuta kura na mamlaka ikiambia Wakenya ya kwamba watashukisha ushuru, wakasema ya kwamba wataweka pesa mfukoni, watatengeneza kazi na watafanya maisha ikue mema kwa ule Mkenya wa kawaida. Kwa hivyo hii mswada wa fedha unaongeza ushuru ambayo ni kinyume na vile walieleza Wakenya. Hii mswada unaongeza gharama kwa ubebaji wa miwa kutoka kwa shamba ikienda katika kiwanda, na hiyo itadhuru bei ya mkulima kupata ile faida kutoka kwa miwa. Pia tuko na kipengele ambacho kinaongea kuhusu maneno ya kuongeza bei kwa vifaa vya kufanya utafiti katika ugonjwa wa saratani. Kwa hivyo mimi kama mjumbe wa Butere, Bi Speaker, mimi napinga mswada huu wa fedha 2024, na nasema ya kwamba wenzangu ambao wako kwa serikali watimize ile ahadi ambayo waliambia Wakenya tunataka tuone mama mboga akifaidika katika serikali, tunataka kuona bodaboda akifaidika, tunataka kuona mtu wa chini ambaye ni hasla akifaidika, tunataka tuone viwanda zikiwanawiri, sio kuweka ushuru mingi katika viwanda. Kwa hivyo, Speaker, mimi kama mjumbe wa Butere nataka niende katika rekodi ya kwamba nimepinga mswada huu, na najua Wakenya wengi wako na sisi tutapiga kupinga mswada wa 2024. Asanteni sana.
Member for Sigor Lochakapong.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Now I rise to support this Finance Bill 2024. And Honorable Speaker, arising out of the report of the Finance and Planning Committee that has considered the recommendations through public participations of stakeholders, that is Kenyans, and proposed a raft of amendments to the Finance Bill, Honorable Speaker, I will want to support based on that. Now, Honorable Speaker, when you look at the report of the Finance and Planning Committee, which is a committee of this House, having looked at the Finance Bill and having listened to the stakeholders, Honorable Speaker, I think it is a good report. And on the basis of this report, Honorable Speaker, I want to support this Finance Bill. Now, Honorable Speaker, it will also be dishonest for those opposing this report and this bill that they are only looking at the Finance Bill as proposed and not looking at the report of the committee that has looked at this Finance Bill. Honorable Speaker, now arising out of the engagement from public participation and the stakeholders, Honorable Speaker, now the committee has proposed a raft of amendments to the bill, which has taken into account the wishes and the thinking of the majority of Kenyans. Now, Honorable Speaker, I think it will also be important to inform the Gen Zs that they need to be updated because they are on the streets based on the original bill and not taking into account what the committee has recommended for amendment. Now, Honorable Speaker, when you look at the committee's report, there is a proposal to increase the excise duty on money transfer services, which has since been dropped by the committee. Now, motor vehicle tax of 2.5%, Honorable Speaker, has been dropped. 16% VAT on financial services has also been dropped by the committee in their recommendation. And I think, Honorable Speaker, this is a good thing. Now, Honorable Speaker, from the report of this committee, now, KRA, they have dropped the KRA to access personal data, and that has been dropped. 16% VAT on solar has also been dropped. Now 16% VAT on ordinary bread has also been dropped. So I think it is good to tell the country that that is what has happened. Now, Honorable Speaker, there is a proposal in the budget of 1 billion shillings for livestock.
Member for Migori, Honorable Fatuma.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I stand here to confirm that I will vote no, and I oppose this bill with the strongest words possible. Madam Speaker, I would like those speaking in this House to go into their phones and see what's happening on the streets. If there is any public participation that needs to be done, it is now. Go out and see what's happening on the streets. All our uniformed policemen are out to tackle it out with the youths. The youths who are not from Kibera, the youths who are not from Majengo, they are from Karen, they are from Kayole, they are from Lavington, they are Christians, they are Muslims, they are all mixed races. They are against this bill. But because they voted for me, today I will vote for them, saying it is a no. Madam Speaker, there is a problem with the youth getting jobs in this country. And majority of them are now depending on social media to make some pennies for them to feed their family. As we say that we have lowered the cost of bread, may I tell you, bread will not be affordable at all for these youths, because the smartphones that they use to do TikTok and any other small business that can give them funds, they have put a levy on it of about 225 shillings on top of the price that is already there. We know very well that we don't have smartphones here manufactured into better quality that they can use for their business. Madam Speaker, we are hurting the hustlers that we promised to help. They have created their own jobs for themselves, and we are still following them up where they are to hurt them more. Madam Speaker, we know that electricity is very expensive in this country, and more so it's even irregular. You get electricity 1 hour, 2 hours, it is gone. Madam Speaker, we have put an extra levy on the basic solar system batteries, meaning that if you can't get Kenya power, sorry, you cannot get solar. What else are we trying to tell Kenyans? What are we telling investors? That go to hell. And I am telling you, Madam Speaker, since this government came into power, we have 30 companies that have closed down, including my favorite son's company called Cadbury that makes Cadbury chocolates. Soon he won't be able to get them at all because the company has closed. And other more like Procter & Gamble, Rickett & Banker, Colgate Palmolive, Cadbury, even Rubber. I can go on up to 30. Unfortunately, we brag here and say that we are creating jobs. May I tell you, the sanitary pads that we are bragging here that we have put levy on imported ones. I want you to know that all these women in this house, plus your daughters and sons, fellow men, they know that these sanitary pads that are being put on tax here, in other countries they're given.
Member for Mandera South, Honorable Abdul Haro.
Give me the mic. Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to put my voice on this very important debate. Honorable Speaker, I must say the finance bill, as it was originally prepared by the Treasury, was a bill that I was prepared to vote no on a number of clauses. But thanks to the Finance Committee, which has listened to stakeholders and has come up with a raft of proposals that are recommending to amend the finance bill as it was originally mentioned. Honorable Speaker, there are quite a number of areas which are directly important to my constituents, although the entire finance bill is important to my constituents, but there are a number of areas which are directly important to my constituents, and those areas have been proposed in the Finance Committee report after listening to the stakeholders for amendment. Particularly, the 16% VAT on bread is very important to my constituents, and I'm happy it has been dropped. The 2.5% vehicle tax is very important to my constituents, and I'm very happy it has been dropped. The excise duty on edible oils is very important to my constituents, and I'm happy it has been dropped. The money transfer and foreign exchange tax has been dropped. The eco tax on diapers and sanitary pads, which have been dropped, is important to my constituents. And Honorable Speaker, the housing levy, the NSSF and NHIF, which is now a tax deductible item, is also very important, which means those who are salaried will not have a lot of taxes to pay. And Honorable Speaker, the proposal to amend Data Protection Act for KRA to access our data has been removed. That is also an important area to my constituents. And Honorable Speaker, the 16% VAT on supply of solar and lithium batteries is important because it promotes uptake of clean energy for my constituents and the rest of Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, on the divide side, I'm also happy that 18 billion has been set aside for the employment of 46,000 JSS teachers on PNP, on permanent and pensionable terms. And I'm also happy that the appropriations bill also is going to fund the extra hiring of another 20,000 JSS teachers, coming from an area where teachers is a challenge to our schools. I'm very happy that this is happening. And 1 billion for restocking livestock that have been destroyed as a result of drought and floods is also very important for my constituents, and I'm happy with that. The school feeding program, which is going to be funded by the government, is also very important to my constituents, and I'm happy.
Your time is up. Member for Westlands.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, from the onset, I want to say that I oppose this bill because, Madam Speaker, Kenyans are feeling the weight of being overtaxed. And Madam Speaker, I'll paraphrase, Madam Speaker, what the former Prime Minister of England said, Winston Churchill. For a nation to try to tax itself into prosperity, it's like a man standing in a bucket and trying to lift himself up by the handle. Madam Speaker, the problem we have in this country, Madam Speaker, is not about taxes. Kenya is not paying taxes. Kenyans pay taxes, Madam Speaker. But the problem is this money is not used properly. There's a lot of wastage in the government. There's a lot of corruption. And the corruption these days is done in the budget. Madam Speaker, they hide money in the budget and it disappears. People negotiate deals and hide money. Madam Speaker, if this money is put to good use, the government will have enough money to do their projects and serve Kenyans, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the several proposals that have been made, and some of them, Madam Speaker, have been dealt with by the committee. But Madam Speaker, this we must bring to the amendment when it comes to the House, Madam Speaker, because this bill does not address an equitable and inclusive fiscal policy that fosters sustainable development, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Finance Bill 2024, as it stands, is punitive and it will have devastating effects, Madam Speaker, on young people, not only in Nairobi, but all over the country. And Madam Speaker, you've seen the young people who are demonstrating now are young people. This G generation, Madam Speaker, they have come out in droves. And Madam Speaker, if anybody is trying to wish them away, these young people, they don't care. They are serious and they are coming out with issues. They have taken our numbers, they are sending us messages. And Madam Speaker, these children are now saying no. And that was the government promised that they are going to lift their lives from bottom to up. But now it looks like it will never happen. So, Madam Speaker, this bill does not address those issues, and I oppose.
Honorable Mark Mwenje.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to reject this finance bill. And from the onset, just bring to the attention of how Gen Z has been encouraging us to steal the bill and run out with it. And we've hoped that the Speaker will communicate that the process doesn't work that way. Honorable Speaker, the finance bill has a lot of grievances, whether it's tax, motor vehicle tax, whether it's bread tax. We're exempting VAT from transfer of businesses. Makes me wonder whose business is this that wants to be acquired, and so many other taxes. Honorable Speaker, you go to the report, it has retained excise duty on motorcycles, it has retained also on data, and we're talking of digital hubs. Gambling, there is a tax that has been increased, both VAT and excise duty. This will mean there's a black market, and more importantly, will also lead to less collection, as we saw last year. The target was 31 billion, we've only collected 26 billion. We should learn from what has happened with capital gains tax. We increased it last year, this year it's been reduced. Why? Because we collected less. The eco-levy on medical equipment, such as cancer, why are we increasing taxes on cancer patients? imports. We are an importing nation. We must accept IDF, RDL until we're able to produce locally to satisfy our local market. We must consider that we are still an importing nation. Come to Nairobi, you'll find shops have been closed, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there's a clause 57 here that if you fail to integrate into e-teams, the fine is 2 million. It's been proposed by the committee, they lower this. They've not said how much. So that is what you stand to lose, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this finance bill in the last years, based on the number of businesses it is killing, it operates like a serial killer. And serial killers leave a trademark so that they can be identified. You want to find it in this finance bill, it's in clause 66. Why would you put that clause there, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, clause 63, which talks about KRA accessing your data. I want to challenge the entire House. Look at the amendments of the committee. They have not said they are withdrawing this clause. This clause still remains as per the recommendation in the report. So, and I want to tell the members on the other side, this clause will hurt you more than it will hurt me, Honorable Speaker. Finally, Honorable Speaker, Section 54 of the Housing Act. Why are we deleting it? Who are we selling these houses to?
Honorable Ngelechei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Elgeyo Marakwet an opportunity to speak on the Finance Bill 2024. Madam Speaker, first of all, before I say something, at times it is very dishonest or very ignorant for members of Parliament who would want to celebrate the increase in CDF, NGAF, and get other funding for maybe electricity, water, without telling Kenyans where the money is supposed to come from. Again, Madam Speaker, I think there is a misconception there in the public, especially the Generation Z. They don't understand that the finance bill is there to enable the budget, for the budget to be implemented. We cannot purport to implement the budget without actually knowing where to get the money from, Madam Speaker. I want to say, for the Generation Z to get jobs, we need to impose tax on imported goods so that we encourage our local manufacturers, Madam Speaker, to be able to produce and employ these youth, Madam Speaker. This tax will ensure that the JSS teachers get employed, Madam Speaker. We also recently saw the intern doctors demonstrating, Madam Speaker, and the government could not raise funds to facilitate and pay them, Madam Speaker. The only way that this can be realized is, Madam Speaker, by ensuring that we get tax and we get levies from Wananchi, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there is also a misconception on so much. I am a farmer and I come from Elgeyo Marakwet where people farm. Tax on imported potatoes, eggs, avocados from outside. I think I support, Madam Speaker, because we also need our farmers to produce and sell their produce, Madam Speaker, in the local market. But then, Madam Speaker, if we waive the tax from eggs that are imported from outside, potatoes, they always flood our market from our neighboring countries. And our farmer is going to lose it big time, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, somebody called Benjamin Franklin said, in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. For a country to run, Madam Speaker, an outcry. I think there is something that people who have an knowledge and idea are misleading young people, maybe who are not aware of what it is, Madam.
Charles Onjoke. Charles Onjoke.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for the opportunity that I may contribute to this bill. On behalf of the people of Bonchari, who have sent me various views about this bill, they have taken time to go through it. Some of the issues they say are as follows: that there's wanton wastage of government public funds. If that were to be stemmed, then we can have a better economy and a better bill. 2, the bill as is, the VAT on bread is not acceptable by the people of Bonchari. The tax on motor vehicles, and most of the taxes seem to be dampening the economy. We'd have to see a situation where the taxes promote the growth of our economy. The basis of taxation is 2 things, the base and the rate. We seem Treasury and KRS to be fixated on the rate. The base is stagnated. How I wish we focused more on the rate so that there's more relief on the Kenyans who are paying the taxes. Honorable Speaker, people of Bonchari would want a tax that is more humane, a tax that they can afford because they are impoverished, they are overburdened as things are now. School fees is a problem to pay, medical fees are a problem to pay because there's not money in their pockets. We hear that the economy is doing well, and if the economy is doing well, this will be reflected in the base of the tax. But instead we are seeing the rate being raised without being compensated on the base that is said to be growing. The 2 items that are touted to indicate that the economy is growing is the dropping inflation and the exchange rate. However, the public debt that is rising all the time is not discussed. The unemployment, where you get 2 out of 3 people unemployed, particularly the youth, is not discussed. Those are very critical items of the economy, the state of any economy. We want measures in our physical strategy or plan that speak to addressing the unemployment in this country. With those, Mr. Speaker, and following the recommendation of the people of Bonchari, I object the bill.
Ronald Karauri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this motion. And I want to start by commending our Gen Z Kenyans who came out in large numbers. I think some of us who are never involved in politics, and these young people are realizing now that change will not come if they do not get involved. We've all received so many text messages from these Kenyans from all over the country. Some of them were asking for donations, some of them were for sponsorships for school, most of them were about the finance bill. We're also getting M-Pesas to confirm our identity. Mr. Speaker, regrettably, the maximum amount I got was less than 50 shillings, while most of my counterparts got over 100,000. But I want to encourage Kenyans to keep contributing because I have a foundation which supports needy children in Kansarani to go to school. I understand the frustration of these Kenyans. When there is a tax on bread, when they do not have jobs, I understand why they would go on the streets. When you have failure in collection of taxes and never achieve the target, and you see bloated budgets and expenditures, it is very likely that people will go on the street. When you see a policymaker, I saw someone from KRA on TV the other day who could not explain the motor vehicle tax. This only creates the perception in the public that these taxes are out there to hurt them and not to help them. But even as I say that, Mr. Speaker, we must come back to reality. We have a budget deficit that we need to bridge. We need to stop borrowing. Members of this House passed a budget policy statement. I talked to one of my colleagues here and he told me we will pass the budget policy, but we will reject the finance bill. You know, when we talk about integrity, we need to start there. The changes have already been made, and I want to commend the Finance Committee. The VAT on bread has been dropped. The excise on vegetable oil has been dropped. The motor vehicle tax has been dropped. Mobile money transfer has been dropped. I would be a very deceptive individual if I did not change my stance and now support the bill with the amendments. For the Gen Z, I want to tell you the headlines of yesterday's newspapers. Nation headline said, Ruto backs down. The Standard talked about Ruto beats a retreat. My advice to them is that you've already won. In terms of the budget policy, the changes have been made in the finance bill, and you should be celebrating. And with those...
Evo Bara.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also add my voice to the debate. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the people of Kabondo Kasipul and all those concerned Kenyans who have sent me their messages, I want to reject the bill. Mr. Speaker, I listened to the chair of budget, Mr. Ndindi Nyoro, when he gave a raft of areas of budget cuts in case we do not approve this budget. Mr. Speaker, as we explain to the people on why the budget cuts, he may also need to explain to the people on how much was raised from the taxes, raised taxes. He may need to explain on the loans, foreign loans and the local loans that have been borrowed. We may need to explain the housing levy receipts. He may need also to explain to us how much has been disbursed for the Hustler Fund, as we also explain on why we are recommending the cuts. Mr. Speaker, I've also had a lot of talk on the Generation Z. Mr. Speaker, it is not about, I think they have missed the point. It is not about the paper. It is not about the bill that we are discussing. Mr. Speaker, I believe this is a reaction to the frustration of the people of Kenya on the high cost of living. Mr. Speaker, it's an act of frustration on the loss of jobs and also the drastic reduction of their disposable income from the taxes. Mr. Speaker, we need to give them hope. Going back to the discussion of today, Mr. Speaker, on the budget and on the finance bill, I have noted that the committee met a lot of industry players, and many of them, if we are honest, rejected the bill with reasons. Mr. Speaker, the committee has attempted to make amendments, which we have seen, but I believe it is not enough because I can still see a budget gap of 76 billion. Mr. Speaker, the recommendations that they have given to bridge this gap may not be sufficient and may have a ripple effect of Kenya, because increasing the cost of the fuel maintenance levy will only
Hamisi Abdi Voi.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Nasimama kutoa mchango wangu kwa mswada huu wa fedha wa mwaka 2024. Kwanza kabisa nasema kama mwakilishi wa watu wa Voi, nimepata ujumbe mingi ambazo zinanihimiza, zinanisindikiza nisiunge mkono mswada huu, na mimi nakubaliana nayo. Na sababu za msingi ni kuwa mswada wenyewe ulivyotengezwa tangu awali si mzuri kwa uchumi, kwa wananchi, wawekezaji na kwa nchi kwa jumla, na nimeona nia na lengo ya kuhadaa wananchi, kwa sababu yale yaliyokuwa yakiuma sana tumeambiwa yataondolewa, lakini sababu za msingi za kuuliza kwa nini ilikuwa hapo kwa mwanzo. Na nichukue tu nafasi niseme, vijana wetu wameongea, wamejitokeza, na inahuzunisha, inafedhesha kuona kuwa maafisa wa polisi wamewafuata, wamewaghadhibu, wamewasumbua wakati wao wanaenda kulingana na katiba, hasa article ya 37 ambayo inawaruhusu wao kuweza kukutana, kuandamana na kupeana pia petition. Na ingekuwa uzuri kwa nchi hii tudumishe demokrasia na tuweze kwenda kistaarabu. Mheshimiwa Spika, utunzi wa sheria unatakana kuzingatia hali ya wananchi, na hata ukiangalia kwa Kiingereza mswada huu ni kuwa unarekebisha mswada mwingine, na la msingi ni kuwa tungefanya iwe rahisi. Malengo ya kukusanya ushuru hayakufikiwa, na hasa sababu kubwa ni kuwa hali ya uchumi imekuwa ngumu, wawekezaji wameondoka, kazi zimepotea, na mswada ungelenga aidha kuacha pale pale ama kupunguza yale yaliyokuwa kwa wakaza wananchi. Na kuna
time up. Lisa Chelule.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kunipatia hii nafasi. Pia nichangie kwa mjadala ya mswada ya fedha katika bunge hili. Ya kwanza Bwana Spika, nataka kuanza kwa kusema ninaunga mkono mswada huu ambaye imeletwa kwenye bunge huu tuongee kama wajumbe. Bwana Spika, tunaelewa kwamba tulikuwa na waziri wa fedha wiki iliyopita ama wiki mbili iliyopita, na yeye mwenyewe alitupatia taarifa ya mahitaji ya kila wizara, na aliguzia sana wizara ya elimu na akaguzia sana wizara ya agriculture. Sisi wote tunaelewa kwamba ni wa maana sana kusaidia wakulima ambaye ni wengi miongoni mwetu. Bwana Spika, naelewa kwamba katika agriculture tumeangalia kila sekta. Wakulima ambaye wanalima horticulture ama wakulima ya kufuga ng'ombe ya maziwa. Na nilifurahi sana sababu kuna pesa imetengwa ili wakulima ya maziwa wapate kujengewa mafactory ya kutengeneza maziwa yao. Hii ndio itapatia nafasi vijana waandikwe kazi na itapatia usaidizi kubwa sana kwa wakulima wetu. Bwana Spika, nataka kuongea juu ya wale vijana ambaye tunaelewa sisi wote kama wabunge kwamba walifanya maandamano na wakasema nataka kuandikwa kazi katika serikali kulingana na utaratibu ya serikali. Na pesa imewekwa katika wizara itaji, imewekwa katika wizara ya elimu ambaye walimu wengi wataandikwa kazi. Wale wamepatiwa kazi ya internship katika wizara mbalimbali watapatiwa nafasi ya kuandikwa kazi kikamilifu. Bwana Spika, tukiongea mambo ya fedha na tukiongea mambo ya hii mswada ambaye imeletwa ni kitu ya maana, because hakuna vile tunaweza sema leo tuko na hitaji katika serikali yetu na tuendelee kuomba pesa kutoka mainji zingine. Pesa ambayo tunapatiwa kwa riba ya juu, pesa ambayo watoto na watoto wetu watalipa. Ni vyema na ni njia mzuri sisi wote kama viongozi ya nchi hii tuwe na nia mzuri. Wengi tunaongea mambo ya barabara, tunaongea mambo ya maji. tunaongea mambo ya stima, na zote hizi zote ni maendeleo, Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo nachukua nafasi kusema tumeletwa katika bunge hili tuongee juu ya majukumu yetu kama viongozi, na majukumu yetu ni tuambie Wakenya ukweli ni nini inaendelea. Hakuna haja tunyamaze kama viongozi na baadaye tuchukue pesa katika mainchi zingine ambaye tutatatua mashida zetu kama wananchi wa Kenya. Kwa hivyo ninasema hivi, Bwana Spika, ninaunga mkono mswada huu na niko kusimama kwa niaba ya walionichagua.
Thank you for this opportunity just to add my voice on this matter, which has been the most controversial finance bill in Kenyan history, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to start thanking the Finance Committee for the meticulously and excellent job they have done so far. Because, Mr. Speaker, based on the circumstances, the 18 things they have dropped in this finance bill is not easy. This is a thing that could have actually caused what we call economic earthquake or economic crisis in our country, Mr. Speaker. I am thanking them because they have dropped the following proposals. One is motor vehicle tax, excise duty on telephone, internet and mobile banking, 16% VAT on solar, on supply of solar, and eco levy actually on some of the few items, and even the proposal to levy the capital gains on the transfer of the property. However, Mr. Speaker, based on all these 18 issues they addressed to the Kenyans, I still feel the mood in the country, and even what we call the Finance Act of 2023, Kenyans have not recovered on all these issues, Mr. Speaker. And based on what I have been instructed by my voters, based on what Kenyans are doing at the moment, even now, going all over the street, I want to oppose this finance bill on that issue. Mr. Speaker, I think we can actually do a lot of things. And the reason why I'm opposing the finance bill, number one, is the proposal to increase the import declaration fee at a rate from 2.5% to 3%. And we know Kenya is a net importer on so many issues. Actually, 60% of what we consume in this country is imported. It means we are going to have a multiplier effect in this economy. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, was the increase on duty for gaming and betting, and nobody has spoken about this issue. Increasing it from 12.5% to 20%, Mr. Speaker, this is the only fund we are relying to take the sportsmen and other people to compete in international competition like the Olympics Games we are going to witness in France next month, Mr. Speaker. It's going to...
Thank you, Nguna. MP Brett. MP Brett.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion, no, not the motion, the bill, finance bill, together with the proposals that the Finance Committee has recommended in their report. Mr. Speaker, we must come to an agreement as a House that we cannot propose one thing and do another thing. We did indeed made proposals as this House and passed the appropriation bill, allowing the Budget Committee to be able to appropriate the funds that we had thought are of essence and also of great concern to the people. Mr. Speaker, in accepting and agreeing to the appropriation bill, the monies that we had voted for the constituencies, the various projects that are within our constituencies, and the nation's development, we did therefore agree that we will be able to raise these revenues either through ordinary tax or the proposals that the Finance Committee are going to come for us to be able to fund these projects. I find it hypocritical for members to rise up here and say that they will reject the finance bill in totality, and also refusing to acknowledge that therefore it must be accompanied by reductions or some elimination of some of the projects and the expenditures that you had proposed. Mr. Speaker, having read through the appropriation bill, this bill had proposed 1 trillion shillings, close to 1 trillion shillings, on repayment of interest on debt. This in itself has been monies that were taken, loans that were taken by the previous governments combined. And we must be able to pay for these debts. We must be able to move forward as a nation by approving and acknowledging that as a nation, we should be able to raise our own revenues by whatever means possible, but making sure that the most vulnerable of us are protected. I support this bill, Mr. Speaker, and the proposals because it makes provisions for the employment of the JSS interns, the 46,000 of them, that they will be able to be taken in as permanent and pensionable, Mr. Speaker. I also would want to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, that TSC may consider the letters that they sent to the JSS interns who went on strike, demanding that they be employed for the purposes of them benefiting from these monies and these revenues that we are raising for their employment. For this, Mr. Speaker, I support with the amendments and the adoption of the report of the Finance Committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mumias West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, like all other colleagues of mine, we have also received messages from my constituents telling me to reject this bill. Mr. Speaker, on the outset, the bill as it is, I reject it because it carries a lot of things which are not affordable to ordinary Kenyans. However, Mr. Speaker, I can see that the Committee of Finance did public participation, and so many industries contributed to this. And there are reports, there are amendments that were suggested, which are, some of them are definitely positive. And we cannot shut our eyes on this type of issue. Because, Mr. Speaker, if the amendments come as they are proposed, then some of us will have to, I will have to support. There is this 16% on bread. If it's going to be dropped as suggested, then I have no issue with it. This transportation of sugar cane, if it is amended and dropped, my people will be happy about it. There's also VAT on financial services and foreign exchange and foreign trips, whereby you have issues with the passports if you are going to look for a job outside. Has also been considered for amendment. Amendments which will take place together with the amendments that we are going to receive. And Honorable Speaker, they have also dropped 2.5% of motor vehicle tax. And if that happens, we have no problem, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there's also this issue of employing junior secondary school teachers. This money, if it is available, we'll have no problem with that tax. And also vegetable oil tax. If the amendment is removing it, we have no issues, Honorable Speaker. I therefore wish to say that we are waiting for the amendments to come and we effect it. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Kiarao.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to air my views in regard to this Finance Bill 2024. Honorable Speaker, I would like to start by reminding all of us that this is a house of debate. Honorable Speaker, I think it is our noble responsibility to articulate and look in with a microscopic eye all issues in front of us with the sole purpose of coming up with a data or a document which is favorable to our nation and the people who have sent us here. Honorable Speaker, I must say there is one issue I've been listening since yesterday to the various views by members. And I must say, Honorable Speaker, I'm one person who will say the initial draft actually was very wanting. It had very many negative issues, but I must commend the Committee of Finance and National Planning for executing its mandate and fine-tuning this document. And more so, on the same note, I would want to commend the committee for listening to the people and acknowledging the importance of public participation, because most of the issues which were raised through the public participation have been addressed. And on that note, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to say I come from an agricultural area. And just to point but a few, considering Nyandarua County, where I come from, there is one issue which had very adverse negative effect, which was in the initial draft, that is touching on the issue of potatoes, the eggs, and all those things have been removed since. Honorable Speaker, I would like to say, and I think this is very important to all the members who are here. Honorable Speaker, on the issue, I can see my time is off. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Kilifi Women Rep. Women Rep Kilifi. Kama hayuko, oh. Give her the mic.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nizungumze kupinga mjadala huu wa fedha. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuelezea bunge hili kuwa pesa za bajeti zinaweza kupatikana tu kwa njia tatu: kutoza kodi wananchi, kuendea mikopo nje, au kupunguza bajeti ile ambayo imepangwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiona wale wananchi kule nje wanaandamana, ni kwa sababu ya kutozwa kodi. Katika bajeti hii ilikuwa imeletwa hapa, yale makadirio ya kutoza kodi ndio umefanya saizi mimi naunga mkono wale wanaandamana kule Kilifi leo, kwa sababu waliona katika orodha ya utozwa ushuru, kutozwa ushuru mkate, kutozwa ushuru magari ya mwananchi wa Kenya wa kawaida. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu kama Ichungwa, kina Osoro, vijana wadogo hao wamefura kichwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, hawatumii magari siku hizi, wanatumia ndege, chopa waende kwa kila mkutano. Ndio maana wameenda kusimama kusema magari yatozwe ushuru. Wananchi wako kule nje, kutozwa ushuru vyombo vya kupima saratani. Mheshimiwa Spika,
Honorable Mbeyu, there is a point of order. Yes, Karemba. Order. Karemba. Give to Karemba the...
Honorable Speaker, I want to rise on a standing order number 107, but F. Niulize I want to ask whether the honorable member is in order to refer to the honorable Soro and his colleague as having big-handed. I think that is very unparliamentary, and she should withdraw those remarks.
Honorable Mbeyu, I was consulting with a member, I didn't hear. If you say that, you are out of order and you withdraw those unkind remarks to your colleagues.
Mheshimiwa Spika, sijajua amesema nini, lakini nitampa mfano tu. Nasema hawa wameweka kodi ya magari ya mwananchi wa kawaida kwa sababu saa hizi tunawaona wakitembea na ndege wakienda mikutano, na huu ni ukweli. Niko na ushahidi Mheshimiwa Spika. Wiki 2 zilizopita Mheshimiwa Ichung'wah alishuka port na ndege. Niko na picha kwa simu yangu. Kwa hivyo hawezi kuweka kodi ya magari.
Yes,
ya pili Mheshimiwa Spika.
Kagombe, order. Honorable Kagombe. Mupe Kagombe.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on standing order number 107. And Mr. Speaker, we are creating a very bad precedent where you make a ruling on someone to withdraw a statement and they proceed to make contributions to this House as if you have not made a ruling. I beg, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Karemba stood here and he has pointed out issues that have been delivered to this House that are disorderly and outrightly false. She knows that she has contradicted.
You've made your point.
So please let her continue.
Mbeyu, I told you withdraw the remarks that are offensive against your colleagues. Now you proceed to say somebody landed somewhere with in an aircraft. Does that make somebody big-headed?
Yes.
Withdraw those remarks.
Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeondoa maneno hayo na nataka Mheshimiwa Kagombe pia apambane na hali yake kule kotini, atuache tuzungumze wananchi wa kawaida. Mheshimiwa Spika.
Order.
Mheshimiwa Spika, nizungumze.
Order. 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 Honorable Mbeyu, I've given you an opportunity to contribute to the finance bill. Kagombe is not in the finance bill. And you are out of... Can you take your seat? Don't be excited unnecessarily, because you are about number 150 member to contribute to this bill. And you've been sitting here seeing how members who are even more senior than yourself have been conducting themselves. Don't excite the House, don't get excited, contribute on the bill.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiona katika ile bajeti watu wakiandamana, vyombo vya kupima saratani katika hospitali yetu vinaenda kutozwa kodi. Yale mambo ambayo yaliwekwa katika bajeti hii, katika mswada huu ndio nayazungumzia. Wakituambia ati wametoa, na tujaona amendment Mheshimiwa Spika, lazima tuione leo hii kuwa imerekebishwa ndio wananchi wetu waweze kukubali. Mambo ya kuweza kuona stakabadhi za pesa to access KRA, to access financial status za watu wa Kenya ni mambo ya aibu. Watu wako na haki ya pesa zao na kuwa siri. Mheshimiwa Spika, mkate, mafuta, kutozwa ushuru ni aibu. Kamati ya bajeti, kamati ya finance.
Member for Lamu East.
Asante Bwana Spika kunipatia nafasi nami nipate fursa ya kuchangia. Naunga mkono mswada huu wa fedha. Bwana Spika, katika mswada huu wa fedha nina imani kwamba Lamu Mashariki itaunganishwa na Wakenya wengine, kwa sababu hivi sasa kutoka tupate uhuru mpaka sasa Lamu Mashariki iko kivyake, haijaunganishwa na Wakenya. Lamu Mashariki tunajua constituency yote, eneo bunge lote hakuna hata inchi moja ya lami, hakuna hata inchi moja ya gridi ya kitaifa. Pesa zikipatikana, watu wangu wa Lamu Mashariki wataunganishwa na Wakenya wengine. Tunajua kuunganishwa eneo bunge na eneo bunge lingine inaunganishwa na mtandao wa barabara, inaunganishwa na gridi ya kitaifa. Sisi kwetu bado hatujapata gridi ya kitaifa na wala barabara. Kama Wakenya na sisi Lamu Mashariki tumekuwa tukitoa ushuru na sehemu zingine maeneo bunge mengine yameendelea. Sasa basi tuendelee kutoa ushuru, tena tuendelee kutoa ushuru sana, na sisi Lamu Mashariki na sisi tupate haya maendeleo. Kwa hivyo kwa sababu hizo mimi naunga mkono kwa dhati, nikiwa na imani ya serikali hii kwamba ndio itatuunganisha sisi na Wakenya wengine. Bwana Spika, lazima tuwe wavumilivu na tufikirie Wakenya wengine. Kama nyinyi sehemu zingine zimeendelea na mumeshiba, sisi wengine bado tuna hamu na maendeleo hatujapata. Kwa hivyo kama nyinyi mko matown, muna barabara kila pahali, muna stima kila pahali, nyinyi mumeshiba. Kule kwetu tunasema wale wanaoshiba samli wanatoa miba. Sisi tuna njaa bado kwetu ya maendeleo, hatuna maendeleo. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi kupinga pesa ipatikane. Toeni ushuru, acheni mchezo. Kuna watu kule wengine wanaumia. Ushuru ndio kuendelea kwa nchi. Sisi tunavumilia. Kama mimi Lamu Mashariki siwezi kwetu haiwezekani interns wale walofuzu kwa walimu kufanya kazi kwetu kwa sababu gharama za usafiri ni ghali kuliko salary. Lakini tumekubali walipwe ili Kenya wengine waendelee. Sisi kwetu lazima waandikwe walimu, na walimu wale wanaandikwa permanent and pensionable ndio wanaweza kwenda kufanya kazi Lamu Mashariki. Kwa hivyo nataka hii pesa, shule zetu zingine hazijaona walimu kama chemistry teacher kutoka shule zijengwe. Sasa hii ndio serikali hii ina hope tupate walimu na
Koyo Onyango.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for finally recognizing me and giving me the opportunity. On the onset, I want to reject this proposal, and I want to implore my colleagues that budget making is a process, is a job of this House, and we should never abdicate our responsibilities. We were in conversation with my colleagues the other side, and we all agreed that budget proposals were not good, they were unfair for our people. But somewhere, a meeting was arranged, and the leadership of this country and my colleagues met, and they agreed. And I'm happy that they have made proposals to remove certain things. What I'm wondering, and I want to warn my colleagues, is that those things that are being removed, the government is going to circumlocute and bring them in other ways. And this budget is going to hurt the public, and the public outcry will reach you. I want to say so because I have not seen, they have not been pointed where the changes are going, where the money is going to come. But my fears have now been confirmed by a letter I saw this morning that came from the CS for Treasury, and have been reinforced by the assertions by my colleague, the respected chairman of Budget Committee, who has come and read drafts of things that await us just in case we do not pass things the way they want. I want to say that these proposals are deceptive, and we need to stand firm and make sure that changes that are injurious to the people we represent are not allowed. I want to repeat to this House the old adage that there is no taxation without representation. Where I sit, the people I represent, there is serious manufacturing, there is serious farming, there is serious business going on. Government, every taxation circle harvests a lot of money from already constituency through sugarcane farmers.
Yes, Koyo, there's a point of order from Honorable Mandazi.
Oh, thank you.
Mandazi, what is the point of order?
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. In the same way that Honorable Nsenku yesterday rose and requested your ruling on the fact that as members of Parliament who keyed in as early as 7 a.m. today, with all fairness, Mr. Speaker, we would want to request you again to rule today that those of us who keyed in, our cards should remain in for the afternoon session. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. People need to
I
be,
thought Koyo was out of order, but he's not. When we rise in the next few minutes, leave your cards.
People need to be very patient. I've been queuing here since 10 o'clock yesterday, and I was here very early in the morning. But because of resilience, the Speaker has finally seen me and given me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind these people that my constituency channels a lot of money to the Treasury. But when it comes to development, real development, they only see in the neighborhood. They did not know why real development was not taking part in their place until the Deputy President carelessly asserted that this country is led through shareholding, that we need to be a shareholder. So my constituents happen not to be shareholders, and they see elaborate electrification program in the neighborhood. We are at epicenter of different constituencies. So they see roads that are meant for county government are being tarmacked all over in the neighborhood. When they have their own challenges, we have marauding floods every year that affect the constituency. When we ask for money, we are told there's still no budget, let us wait for money. But in the neighborhood, you see certain things happen. We want taxation that also comes with.
Members, before we rise, like we directed you this morning, we hope by 3:30, the mover will be called to reply. Make sure you have your electronic card for voting. I'm told the clerk had already circulated information so that we can be able to spend less time on voting and do other business. It matters not whether it's roll call or electronic card. Even that electronic voting is not a secret vote because it appears on the screen, it will be on Hansard, and everybody will know how you voted. So it matters not whether you are saying yes on the floor or no on the floor. An electronic vote for purposes of the House is not a secret vote. Order, honorable members, will you be upstanding? Order, be upstanding, Honorable Ngelechei. Honorable members, it's now 1:01, and the House stands adjourned until 2:30 this afternoon.
Clerk, do we have quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
We have the quorum bell currently on at the Senate at 10 minutes. Guidance by the Speaker, Honorable Amason Kingi, currently presiding over the business of the Senate this afternoon. For senators who this morning were attending the National Prayer Breakfast, and some of them who are still within the presence of Parliament to make their way into the chamber this afternoon. And as we await for that quorum to be attained, allow me to take you through further details in the order paper this afternoon, where the House is set to consider other agenda lined up for debate this afternoon, and among them is the establishment of a national teaching and referral hospitals in Kenya. This is a motion by the Senator Johnson Maruma, the Senator for Taita Taveta County. In this motion, the Senator for Taita Taveta County seeks to have the Senate
We will defer that particular order. Proceed to the next order, Clerk.
Sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52-1 to make a statement on a matter of general topic concern, namely drawing the attention of this House to two significant observances in the month of May. The International Day of the End Obstetric Fistula, observed last week on May 23rd with the theme Breaking the Cycle, Preventing Fistula Worldwide, and Mental Health Awareness Month, which underscores the theme, mental health is a universal human right. Mr. Speaker, these two observances, while distinct, are deeply interconnected. Obstetric fistula, a severe childbirth injury, often results in profound psychological distress for affected women. The physical consequences of fistula, such as incontinence and social ostracization, lead to significant mental health challenges, including depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Mr. Speaker, sir, the theme of Mental Health Awareness Month resonates deeply with the principles of equality, dignity, and inclusivity. It highlights the fundamental need for accessible and equitable mental health care for all individuals, regardless of their background or circumstances. Similarly, the fight against obstetric fistula demands that we provide comprehensive maternal health care and psychological support to those affected. As leaders, it is incumbent upon us to acknowledge the dual challenges faced by women suffering from obstetric fistula, both physical and mental. Despite progress in maternal health care, the stigma and discrimination surrounding fistula persists, leading to social exclusion and barriers to seeking help. These challenges are mirrored in the broader context of mental health, where misconceptions and prejudices continue to hinder individuals from accessing care they need. Mr. Speaker, sir, addressing these issues requires a multi-phased approach, including, number one, enhancing access to skilled birth attendants, emergency obstetric care, and timely surgical interventions to prevent the occurrence of fistula. For those already affected, reconstructive surgery and comprehensive post-operative care are essential to restoring their physical health and dignity. Number two, providing mental health support as part of maternal health care program is crucial. Psychological counseling, supporting groups, and community education can help women cope with the emotionally draining aftermath of fistula and reduce stigma. Raising awareness, number three, raising awareness about both obstetric fistula and mental health within communities can foster a supportive environment. Education campaigns can challenge misconceptions, encourage empathy, and promote the inclusion of affected women. And number four, national and county governments and health organizations must prioritize maternal and mental health care in their health agendas. Policies that ensure access to comprehensive care services are vital. Advocacy efforts should aim to secure funding and support of these initiatives. Mr. Speaker, sir, I implore fellow senators and citizens alike to actively participate in initiatives that raise awareness about obstetric fistula and mental health. Let us reaffirm our commitment to uphold health as a universal human right and continue our efforts. Mr. Speaker, I had...
Yes, you may proceed with the second statement.
My second statement is the ongoing evictions and demolitions in Mathare and Mukuru kwa Ruben areas of Nairobi County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations regarding the actions being taken by the Government of Kenya concerning evictions and demolitions in Mathare and Mukuru kwa Ruben areas of Nairobi County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the recent floods in the country, and especially Nairobi and its environments, are resulted in devastating consequences, including loss of life and extensive property destruction. While I acknowledge the necessity of measurements to ensure public safety, I am deeply concerned by the government's decision to evict people and demolish properties on riparian land along the Mathare and Ngong rivers, which has been executed in an inhumane manner and in violation of the rights of affected individuals. Mr. Speaker, if you can protect me.
Honorable Senators, may Senator Hamida be heard in silence, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the statement, the committee should, number one, clarify basis and procedural framework under which the government is conducting evictions and demolitions in Mathare and Mukuru kwa Ruben areas, and inform whether due process and human rights have been upheld throughout these evictions. Number two, provide information of the measures taken by relevant government agencies to ensure that affected individuals are provided with adequate support and alternative housing and compensation for loss and incurred during these evictions and demolitions. Number three, state plans and timelines for resettlement or reintegration of affected communities to prevent displacement and alleviate their suffering. Number four, state whether consultations or engagements were conducted with affected communities and relevant stakeholders to address concerns, gather feedback, and ensure transparency and accountability in the eviction and demolition process. Number five, disclose how the national government utilized the Kenya shillings 10 billion that had been set aside for El Nino preparedness in the financial year 2023-2024, particularly in implementing preventing measures and providing relief to affected communities. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable senators. Before I call for the request for statements pursuant to Standing Order 53, allow me to make the following communication. Senator Chute. Now, honorable senators, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, KEPSA, is the apex body of the private sector in Kenya. The organization brings together the business community under a single umbrella body to engage and influence public policy for enabling business environment. Over the last few years, the Senate and KEPSA have held an annual roundtable conference to enhance greater private sector engagement and participation in the Kenya's governance structure and economic management. The Senate Speakers Roundtable is a high-level platform for public-private sector dialogue between the business community and the Senate that facilitates a joint review of the country's policy and legislative environment, identifies crucial legislation for the private sector that needs to be reviewed or fast-tracked, and addresses any gaps that require new legislative intervention based on the country's and the private sector development priorities. Honorable Senators, this year, the 6th KEPSA Senate Speakers Roundtable is scheduled to be held in Mombasa County between the 12th and the 13th of June 2024 at a venue that will be communicated in due course. The event will be held under the theme, Strengthening the Role of the Senate in Improving County Business Environment Competitiveness for the Creation of Wealth, Jobs, and Inclusive Prosperity in Kenya. To this end, the business community and the honorable senators will seek to set the legislative interventions for 2024 between the private sector and the Senate that is aimed at boosting county economic competitiveness. Focus areas under this theme will be as follows. A, improvement of the overall ease of doing business and competitiveness in the counties, promotion of manufacturing sector as a key driver of economic transformation and job creation. C, addressing factors that inhibit agribusiness in counties. And D, ensuring counties integrate environmental and social consideration. And lastly, strengthening the Senate's vanguard role as shepherds for devolution and county competitiveness. Honorable Senators, I take this opportunity to invite all senators to participate in this forum. Your involvement will be instrumental in driving positive change in our economic landscape, which will ultimately improve the quality of life for all Kenyans. The Office of the Clerk will communicate further details on the event. I've got further communication to make. In the public gallery, we have 44 Form 4 students and 2 teachers from Baringo High School in Baringo County who are undertaking an education visit in the Senate. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming guests to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. Also in the public gallery, we have 39 Form 4 students and 3 teachers from Sacho High School in Baringo County who are undertaking an education visit in the Senate. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving guests, of welcoming guests to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator for Baringo County under 1 minute to extend words of welcome to the delegation from Baringo County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to join you and indeed my colleagues in welcoming the students and the teachers from Baringo High School in Baringo County. I wish, Mr. Speaker, to confirm that I'm proud to announce to the House that this is one of our best schools in our county. Speaker, in Baringo we have 2 national schools, Baringo High School and Osen High School. And today, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that Form 4 students are in the House. to see what happens in Senate. And Mr. Speaker, already they have been able to witness the proceedings of this House. I wish to thank them, those who planned for the visit to Senate, and as they go back, Mr. Speaker, I want to wish them safe journey all the way to Baringo, and whatever they have been able to learn today, Mr. Speaker, I want to advise them to apply even in their day-to-day learning in their schools. Mr. Speaker, we always speak about the leaders of tomorrow. And I want to assure the young men and women of Form 4 that, the boys of Form 4, because these are boys' school, Mr. Speaker, that at some point in life, at some point in time, Mr. Speaker, they shall be leaders of tomorrow. They work hard, take their studies seriously, be focused, be determined, be resilient. And Mr. Speaker, I'm sure one day, one time, one of those members, or even more, of the students will be able to sit even in this House as a senator, as a governor, as a member of parliament, or even as a CS. The sky is the limit, Mr. Speaker. It is possible if we work hard. So I want to wish them well as they go back, and we continue to expect more for this year, Mr. Speaker, because they are the students of Form 4 this year. Mr. Speaker, I will see them later as they proceed home. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you for your speech. Statement pursuant to Standing Order 53-1, Senator Tabitha Mutinda.
Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding the deplorable state of maternity services at Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital, Nairobi County. In this statement, Mr. Speaker, the committee should, 1, state the total number of women detained in the hospital facility due to their inability to settle their maternity fees, stating the respective amounts owed. Secondly, state the payment modalities or options in place set by the hospital management for defaulters within the maternity section. And lastly, explain the protocols followed by the hospital management in the event a patient is unable to raise the maternity fee, and confirm whether any policy exists to guide how to handle cases related to the default of maternity fee payments. Thank you.
Senator Oroba Glory.
Thank you, Speaker. This is my request for statement on the sanitary towels program for the year 2023 to 2024. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget concerning expenditure of the budgetary allocations to the sanitary towels program for the year 2023-2024. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a report of the budget allocations and expenditure by the Ministry of Education and Gender, Culture, the Arts and Heritage on sanitary towels for the financial year 2023-2024. 2, and most importantly, the committee should provide all tender documents, including advertisements, and the details of the awarded tenders related to the procurement of sanitary towels for the year 2023-2024. And 3, in the statement, the committee should provide delivery notes or proof of receipt of sanitary pads by the beneficiaries, including reports of payments to suppliers of the pads during the year under review. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Catherine Muma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Health regarding obstetric fistula, a critical public health crisis disproportionately affecting women and girls in Kenya. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide the Senate with the data on the prevalence of obstetric fistula in Kenya, highlighting the regions with the highest incidence rates to showcase the magnitude of the issue. Number 2, assess the current state of access to fistula treatment in Kenya, indicating whether the proposed social health insurance fund will include fistula repairs under the maternal health package. 3, indicate the national policy guidance that the ministry has provided the county governments for addressing obstetric fistula experienced by women in remote areas. And 4, state the number of distribution of skilled surgeons capable of performing fistula repair surgeries and the number and capacity of specialized facilities for fistula care across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chimera.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a request for statement on the management and operation of Mbele Primary School in Makinon Town by the county government of Taita Taveta. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the management and operation of Mbele Primary School, which is located in Makinon Town, Kwale County, and is currently being administered by the county government of Taita Taveta. In the statement, the committee should, number 1, Mr. Speaker, explain the modalities and the administrative processes under which Mbele Primary School, geographically situated in Makinon Town, reverted to the jurisdiction of Taita Taveta County from Kwale County. Number 2, determine if the Teacher Service Commission, TSC, is aware of the current administrative status under which Mbele Primary School operates within the jurisdiction of Taita Taveta County. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, outline any measures the Ministry of Education intends to undertake to resolve this jurisdictional anomaly, particularly steps to revert the management of Mbele Primary School to Kwale County if deemed appropriate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mohamed Faki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise on behalf of... pole. Bwana Speaker, nashukuru kwa kunipa nafasi hii kwa niaba ya Mheshimiwa Faki ili niombe kauli kutoka kwa kamati ya kudumu ya elimu. Mheshimiwa Speaker, nimesimama kwa kuambatana na kanuni ya kudumu ya 53(1) kuomba kauli kutoka kwa kamati ya kudumu ya elimu kuhusu malipo ya malimbikizo kwa walimu waliostaafu kutoka tume ya uajiri wa walimu TSC. Katika taarifa hiyo, Mheshimiwa Speaker, kamati ichunguze sababu za walimu waliostaafu kutopokea pensheni pamoja na malimbikizo yao ya kustaafu kuanzia mwaka wa 2020 hadi sasa. Ya pili, iarifu seneti hii lini walimu hao waliostaafu wataanza kupokea hayo malipo yao. Na ya mwisho, ieleze pia sababu za hazina ya malipo ya uzeeni NSSF kukosa kuwalipa walimu waliostaafu malipo yao ya kustaafu kwa wakati unaofaa. Kauli hii inatafutwa na Seneta Mohamed Faki Mwenye Haji, seneta wa kaunti ya Mombasa. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I rise on behalf of Senator Sigei. Mr. Speaker, I have two statements. The first one, on the procurement of road construction machinery in Bomet County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing regarding the procurement and management of road construction machinery by the county government of Bomet. In the financial year 2022-2023, the county government of Bomet acquired 5 graders, 5 excavators, 1 roller, 5 tippers, and 1 load loader at a total cost of Kenya shillings 250 million. Subsequently, an additional amount of Kenya shillings 56.6 million was sought to further finance the said procurement, bringing the total amount spent for the procurement of Kenya shillings 306.6 million. Notably, this amount was not part of the county's budget and was only sought through a supplementary budget. Mr. Speaker, sir, this supplementary budget was not reflected in any county plan. It was not included in the County Integrated Development Plan, CIDP, nor the Annual Development Plan, ADP, contrary to sections 107, 1084, 1089B, and section 113 of the County Government Act. Additionally, the supplementary budget was introduced without public participation, which contradicts the stipulations under Article 10 of the Constitution and sections 87 and 115 of the County Government Act, as well as sections 51, 61 of the Bomet County Public Participation Act 2019. Mr. Speaker, sir, further, in continuous contravention of the Presidential Executive Order number 2 of 2018 on procurement of goods, works and services by public entities, the county government of Bomet has failed and or neglected to maintain and continuously update and publicize the relevant information in this tender in public forums. Relevant information including, but not limited to, full particulars of the awarded bidder, technical and financial capacity of the awarded bidder, award date and current market price of the specific goods, as well as the price guidelines as published by the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, have been concealed from the public. In the statement, the committee should, 1, provide a detailed account of the whereabouts of the machines and detailed account of the works undertaken by each machine. Additionally, provide the work tickets and particulars of the respective drivers operating the machinery and avail all the relevant fuel order details. 2, provide a detailed report of all the relevant information that the county government ought to maintain and continuously update and publicize, including but not limited to the tender evaluation report, the sales contract, and the terms of engagement employed by the county during the acquisition of this machinery, the assessment and inspection report, and the concurrence report from the Mechanical Transport Department regarding the procured machinery. 3, undertake an in-depth analysis of the prices at which these machines were acquired, highlighting the market value of the acquired machines vis-a-vis the price guidelines as published by the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority. And 4, finally, confirm whether the county acquired insurance for the machinery and disclose the details of the insurance. Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, Bomet County. Mr. Speaker, I have another one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, on behalf of Senator Hilary Sigei, request for a statement on the prolonged water shortage in Bomet Town. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment, and Natural Resources regarding the prolonged water shortage in Bomet Town, Bomet County. Mr. Speaker, sir, the residents and business entities in Bomet Town have for several months now faced a shortage of clean treated water. This has forced them to use untreated water from Nyongores River exposing them to risks of waterborne diseases. The underlying governance and operational challenges contributing to the shortage are multifaceted and have been highlighted in various reports of the Auditor General on the operations and performance of Bomet Water and Sanitation Company, BOMWASCO. I therefore request that the committee, 1, explains the circumstances that led to the Kenya Power and Lighting Company disconnecting the electricity supply to Bomet Water and Sanitation Company. 2, outline any measures put in place by the county government of Bomet to alleviate the water shortage in the short term and to ensure continuous and reliable water supply to the residents of Bomet town in future. 3, report on steps taken by the county government to safeguard the health of residents who, due to the prolonged acute water shortage, face health risks arising from poor sanitation. 4, state any actions taken to address the financial and operational challenges that are crippling BOMWASCO, including financial irregularities, which are evidenced by unsupported board expenses, unverified staff welfare expenditures, and unpaid salary arrears. And 5, provide a status update on all ongoing water infrastructure projects in Bomet County, explaining any delays in completing the project and stating the projected timelines for the same. Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei, MP, Senator for Bomet County. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Joe Newton.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Land, Environment and Natural Resources regarding the upward review by the Water Services Regulatory Board, WASREB, of water tariffs in Murang'a County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, explain the rationale for the upward review by the Water Services Regulatory Board, WASREB, of water tariffs in Murang'a County. 2, provide data on the water tariffs in the counties neighboring Murang'a County and in the wider Mount Kenya region, explaining any disparities. And 3, outline any measures put in place by WASREB to ensure that customers are not overburdened. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chirange.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, request for statement on placement of students in Kenya universities and colleges, Central Plus Placement Service. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education regarding the placement of students in universities and state of financial health of public universities in the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the statement, the committee should, 1, provide an overview of the current financial status of public universities, considering the recent financial strain that has led to many public universities and many university staff going without salaries for months. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, identify the number of public universities that are insolvent or facing financial difficulties and explain measures the Ministry of Education has taken to ensure these institutions remain operational and the students are not adversely affected. So, Speaker, number 3, assess the effectiveness of Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service, KUCCPS, in undertaking the role of placing students in universities and tertiary colleges, particularly in the light of high number of complaints from the students and other stakeholders. Mr. Speaker, number 4, explain the rationale behind the Higher Education's Loan Board help providing loans to students in public universities only, while excluding those students in private and faith-based universities across the country. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, clarify the reasons for the non-placement of students in faith-based institutions by Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service. Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you.
Senator Miraj.
Request for statement on cases of attack targeting women drivers operating taxis hailing services. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on National Security and Foreign Relations regarding reported cases of attacks targeting women drivers operating taxis hailing services. In the statement, the committee should furnish the Senate with a comprehensive report on attacks targeting women drivers operating taxi hailing services and provide an update on the status of each investigations. 2, conduct an inquiry into the reported trend of clients posing as women when booking cab services to lure women drivers, only for them to be attacked and even raped. 3, implore the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, in collaboration with the Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy, to develop guidelines / tools for the registrations and verification of clients using hail services applications to ensure the safety of both drivers and passengers. And 4, outline the measures the Ministry of Interior and National Administration has taken to ensure the security and safety of women drivers, protect their rights and bring the culprit involved in such acts to book. Senator Miraji Abdullahi, MP, nominated senator.
Senator Mohammed Chuta. That had been deferred because of the absence of Senator Muma. You will comment after Senator Muma has dealt with her business. That is 1. There is the paper that was to be laid. You may now proceed to lay the paper, Senator Muma.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 30th May 2024. This is the report of the Kenya delegation to the 148th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland from 23rd to 27th March 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Muma, you may also proceed to give notice. Proceed, Senator Muma, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order, Senator for Homa Bay?
Mr. Speaker, this is a house of order, and you have done a great job in maintaining that order. I bring your attention to Standing Order number 117-2, which says, for avoidance of doubt, that no senator shall pass between the chair and any senator who is speaking, or between the chair and the table. And Mr. Speaker, there are 5 senators between you and Senator Muma. Mr. Speaker,
Order.
This is
Order. Majority
Speaker,
Leader, the chair can defend itself. Senator for Homa Bay, none of these senators who have approached the chair have come in between the chair and the senator speaking. And the senators that have approached this chair have done so with permission from the chair. Proceed to give notice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that the Senate notes the report of the Kenya delegation to the 148th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union and related meetings in Geneva, Switzerland from 23rd to 27th March 2024, laid on the table of the Senate on Thursday, 30th May 2024. Thank you.
Now, honorable senators, I will allow limited intervention on the statements, starting with Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to seek further clarification on the issue raised about Mama Kibaki Hospital. Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital. Mr. Speaker, it is an oxymoron that the governor of Nairobi can purport to wish to end suffering of young people by attempting to give them lunch, Mr. Speaker, when on the other hand, he sees nothing wrong in arresting and jailing newborn babies in this hospital, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to go to that hospital, you see mothers on the floor with their children lying on a lesso because the mothers who go there are not so rich. Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital was not enter. Could the governor quickly, the end of today,